SwiftCase Productivity Podcast. My name's Adam Sykes. I'm the founder of SwiftCase, the professional productivity platform.
And I'm Craig McCarthy, the development manager of SwiftCase, and I work in our Baltic Triangle office in Liverpool.
My name's Phil. I also work in the Baltic Triangle with Craig, and I'm a developer.
So today we were discussing earlier today, in fact, weren't we? About this idea of, if you own a business, are you necessarily an entrepreneur? Are you being entrepreneurial just by the virtue of having that business? I suppose we got into a little bit of discussion, but we thought, let's save that for a podcast. And so we're here now. And so I think to kick off, the idea behind this was I was reading something somewhere, I can't remember, and it was the idea that if you are working in your own business and you are, say, I don't know, a financial advisor, and you're doing the same job as everyone else who works in your business, are you just another, not just, I don't like to say just another employee, but are you an employee in your business, or are you actually an entrepreneur? Are you actually doing the things that you'd expect an entrepreneur to be doing?
To expand the business, basically, to make it...
I suppose what is an entrepreneur, isn't it, as opposed to a business owner? Is sort of the...
If you're just doing the same as other people, but you put up the initial capital, by definition, that should make you the entrepreneur. But I think people categorise themselves as an entrepreneur specifically if they have ambitions to expand, diversify, or create completely new businesses.
Yeah,
that's where.
So there's like serial entrepreneurs, isn't there? There's people who go on and you get the kind of the Dragon's Den. They're what you think of
Richard
entrepreneurs.
Yeah. But when I think of entrepreneur, I always think about Richard Branson.
Yeah, he owns it now.
He does.
Brand.
So he is the entrepreneur.
Pretty sure it's trademark.
Yeah, trademark is Richard.
I think as a guy from Silicon Valley, the Three Commas Club guy.
Yeah.
That's when I think of entrepreneurs. Yeah.
But if you haven't read the Virgin book, can you be an entrepreneur? Sort of that idea. But yeah, I suppose the key thing is it's this phrase, isn't it? Do you work on your business or in your business?
Yeah,
it's one of those that if you are spending so much time doing the day job, and it might be for a lot of people, they might not have intended to be in business. They might have decided to just work for themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
They might be just
the tax benefits are better.
Yeah, it might just been like a consultant, or even like you think like trades. You might have been a electrician, plumber, roofer.
That's the way a lot of it happens, isn't it? Really, where you've got kind of this one man band.
Yeah.
But ultimately, they're quite successful because they're good at what they do.
Yeah.
And then ultimately, it's like, I can't get all this done in one day. I'm going to have to hire someone else, and then it's kind of like the birth of a business there and then, really. So yeah, I think it's quite.
But the question is, are you doing as well as you can if you're just doing
I suppose it's that, and also, do you want to do better?
Yeah.
Because I suppose we have got to factor in, some people are really ambitious, people want to grow their businesses for, they want to do X, Y, and Z, they want extra free time, they want to spend more time at home with the kids, or they want to go around the world on holiday, or they want to buy that car, make more money, buy that car, buy that bigger house,
make the world a better place,
or do you want to, at the end of the day, if you want to help, charities, the people who can donate the most money and go out and do go out to these places and help, you need money to do that. And if you need money to do that, you've got to grow, haven't you? You can't, if you're just trading hours for money, you've only got so many hours a day. Exactly. You can't make any more. The only way you can grow your business, if it is an hours to money situation, is to employ more people. By employing more people, you provide the framework, I suppose, for the business. You provide the office, the tax, all the legal, the risk, and so on. And then they provide their labour, and ultimately, overall, you take a bit off them, and there's somewhere between the value they add and the value you provide to them. There's an extra bit of profit, and that's where you grow your business by expanding that way. But I suppose if you're still doing the job, are you really, have you, taken an overall view of your business? Is there things you can improve? Can you do that can you really be an entrepreneur if you're just plumber number 10 or plumber number 1 in a 10 plumber business, or financial advisor number 1 in a 5 financial advisor business? it's like the difference between being a technician, I suppose.
I mean, it's taking that leap, isn't it, really, from being, you know, another cog in the wheel, basically, to someone with the vision of where the future is, and maybe just keeping up to date on where, you know, your sector is going as well, and maybe even expanding into different sectors. I mean, we've talked a lot in the past, haven't we, about how technology is revolutionising certain fields. Like support is a big one. Like we had a chat about chatbots, but you know, it's kind of like having the finger on the trigger, really, of where that's going, or you can just stick to your normal day-to-day practices. And kind of stick to what you know. Yeah,
in those kind of situations, when people do, they will eventually join the bandwagon, but when they can be exploited by somebody who's developed a very mature service and charge a lot of money for it. Whereas when you're, what the kind of entrepreneur you're talking about has got the finger on the pulse and is looking for ways to incorporate software automation into their business, increases their profit margin. Before you know, the de facto corporations come in and provide a service of that kind for a much more inflated price. That isn't as good even.
And if you're looking inward, you're not looking outward. You're going to miss opportunities, aren't you? As well as like how you can improve your business, but like just even getting out and talking to customers. If you're just so tied into you've got to be a worker, you can't go and you know, you can't go and meet people. You can't increase the network, can you? You can't. I mean, being frank and honest, you know, this is how we started at SwiftCase. You know, I was a one-person consultant. You know, I went into business with my, you know, business partner, and then now we've got a big team of staff, but we've put in place systems, and we use SwiftCase, our own system, in our business, so that, you know, I know that if I'm not here, things happen in a certain way. You know, we know what's going on with various bits of projects and so on. We know that even down to the point that the emails that go out to people are the emails that I've agreed with, you know, other senior people. Craig and I have a discussion. This is the email that people get when this happens. This is the email that people get. And obviously we personalise our services, but it's having that time to spend on actually improving the systems of your business. So ultimately, your business is separate to you. I suppose you are not your business. Your business should be able to work without you. Your business is an entity, isn't it?
And I always, my vision of the entrepreneur, really, they're always exploring new avenues as well to go down, really. And I think if you kind of just stuck doing this same thing over and over again, then you don't have the opportunity to do that.
So anyway, you've got to let go of that. I think we've discussed this kind of feeling before, that if you have a particular way of doing something that's esoteric and exclusive to you, that you are somehow more important. And if you run a business, you can take on board a lot of the processes that you want to exclude from other people to justify your value as the head of the business. But actually you can push off a lot of those processes onto an automated system and then free up that time to be able to explore those new avenues that you're talking about.
I think I came across an interesting point related to what you were just saying then. The other day, it was around the idea that people say, about delegation, and like the sort of received wisdom about delegation is give people tasks that they're best at. But what they were saying is, if you're best at something, as certainly as a business owner or as a manager even, and you're doing all the tasks you're best at, well, no one ever learns. If no one ever learns, then you can't leave. You can't be free to do something else. You know,
feel compelled. They derive value from that feeling. But like you say, it's a comfort zone, isn't it? As soon as you're doing what you're good at, you really should be thinking about the next challenge, and not how can I maintain this stasis and this kind of this treadmill existence, because it's not really rewarding.
No.
Really, I mean, it feels it when you arrive at it. When you arrive at the point of competence, you go, "Oh, this is great." But as soon as you start to stagnate, you know that it's
things don't grow if you stay in your comfort zone. Exactly. You've got to step outside. You've got to try something new. I mean, like even down to like doing a podcast. It wasn't what I was thinking about doing. As a, like
but the risk is what made taking that risk is what made the company work in the first place.
I mean, in thinking about the word cloud sort of thing of entrepreneurs, I think risk taker is one of the big ones for me, because I feel like unless you you take the risk. Ultimately, there's always going to be risk, isn't there? And I think...
But you can mitigate the risk.
Yeah.
But it's more of a risk if you're still doing the same job and trying to find ways to expand in the slivers of time that you've got in either your break time or night time. Whereas if you push those tasks off, either delegate them to software or to someone else, then you're more likely to be able to do what you're talking about.
I suppose the other thing as well is if everyone else is doing it
exactly.
and you're not, then you're going to be left behind, aren't you? That's the other thing. But just going back to what you said about risk, at some point in the past, you took a risk, didn't you? As a business, someone who starts a business, you took a risk not to go and work for someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
You took a risk to
open
a business,
making this hire,
making the first hire. I suppose this is just the next step of letting go of the personal control of the business and being able to put in systems in place that you can then keep control of via these systems. So you know that your expertise and your your ways of doing things are built into the way that your business works, if you're there or not. I suppose that's the key thing, isn't it?
I think that's a big one. Yeah.
If you know that if you're not there, everything works as you want it to, and that you can check,
so
and that you can be sure that it's working.
Yeah. It's one of those things, isn't it, where I think you can't clone yourself. You can't be everywhere.
You can clone what defines your process.
Yeah, and that's kind of what this is.
People have that identity, they identify with that.
Yeah.
And then they say, oh no, this is my job, this is what I do.
Yeah.
But you can kind of almost upload yourself.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean micromanaging by a system. You can still give people flexibility to do their own ways, because you're effectively setting targets or requirements, aren't you, of the process. So for example, go back to what we talked about before, the emails. We expect that clients get emailed at this point, this point, this point, and this point. As long as everything happens in between and the clients are up to date and the work happens by the end, whatever's the most efficient process of the way someone works in between, that can be flexible, to the extent of however rigid you want to set the system. So you're not killing innovation from happening because you're just restricting it as a dictator from the top. You can still put a system in place and have flexibility.
But as long as you've got
possible
feedback mechanisms within that system, so that you can adapt it, like you said.
We're always continually improving. So don't be afraid of taking a process and improving it and moving on. But okay, great. So I suppose we covered the key question there. Really, is that if you are a business owner, maybe you do need to look at other systems, other avenues of freeing yourself up from not just working inside your business, but actually being able to improve your business from a process point of view. Also I suppose from a strategy point of view of where you want to go next. And this allows you to do this if you've got those systems in place. I suppose that's the first step, is get a system in place. Then you're free to then look at things. Are you more comfortable doing some marketing or going out and meeting people and doing sales, or even not comfortable, but do you need to do that if you want to grow your business? If that's what you want to do, you want to grow your business, then fine. I mean, don't get me wrong, some people want a lifestyle business, they want to go in every day, they want to just they want to be a plumber, they want to be a financial advisor, that's what they enjoy, and that's fine. It's not for everyone. We're talking about people who want to really grow their business. They want to get that extra time, get the extra money, free themselves up to focus on what matters to them, not just inside their business, but in the rest of their life as well.
I think there's maybe our listeners can let us know what they think is being an entrepreneur. I think ultimately, from what I gather, really, it's someone with a dream and a vision of what they want their business to be, ultimately, and kind of striving to make that happen.
And what they want their life to be.
Exactly.
It's wider than the business, isn't
ultimately,
it? Okay, great. So I think from that conversation we had before, I think we covered some really interesting points. So thank you for listening to the SwiftCase Productivity Podcast. Hope you check us out next time.
And be sure to subscribe to the podcast and follow us all on social media. You can find us on Twitter at SwiftCase UK. Follow Adam Sykes, Craig McCarthy and Phil Whitby on LinkedIn. and visit our website for more information, swiftcase.co.uk.
Yeah, if there's any budding entrepreneurs out there as well, please let us know what you think about our definition.
Yeah.
And if it needs any tweaking, down below in the comment section.
Yeah, and we'll keep in touch with you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks, and catch you next time.
Bye.